Yeah, it was hard. It was a hard call. Oh, are we live?
Oh yeah.
It says we're live. Okay. Hello, world. Oh, that was a nerd joke if anyone got that. This is here with Wordsmyth Theater, and this is the talkback for Just So Typically Me by Troy Loftin. And we have the playwright here and the actors and Shawana, the director. Um, so we just wanted to, I will get started with the first question. So Troy, what kind of was the advent of this play? Where did you sort of that seed and then what's the journey?
Yeah. Basically, the way that I tend to get ideas is sort of image based. So I'll see like a flash of a scene almost in my head. So rather than characters or plot, that's sort of how my sort of play ideas come to me. So literally, I was in my car just driving down some LA freeway and listening to Britney Spears, and I just thought it was about 2 years ago, and I just thought, what if someday she just decided not to do this like Vegas residency, because this was sort of at the beginning of a lot of her conservative troubles. There were some rumors spreading around of her family life and things like that. So that was sort of my central like vision that I just got. I was like, oh, that could be a cool play. And then over the course of the next few weeks and months, it sort of I thought about it more, and it sort of coalesced in my head. And it's always been a single room, like real time play. So I knew I wanted to be in her dressing room the entire time watching her, Jessie. And uh, with that sort of structure and idea in mind, I was able to write it. It took about a year. Um, and there's actually been a few revisions at this point. A lot sort of hacked away. It used to be around 80 something pages, I think. So I cut a lot of that, and I had to change some character arcs to focus on others.
Mhm.
Um, but overall, I think I've been with it for about 2 years now. But yeah, it all started with one car ride, probably shopping somewhere.
Oh, and then and you're from originally, so you're in LA now, but you're originally from here, or you went to UH, or
Yeah,
what is
I'm
your
uh,
playwrighty
I'm from
journey?
Southeast Texas. So I grew up in a small town called Buna, which is over by Beaumont, near Louisiana.
Hmm.
But then I went to UH, go Cougs, for my undergraduate degree in playwriting and dramaturgy.
And then you wrote what year did you write this play?
This I started in, I think, 2018.
2018. Oh, so pretty recent
Yeah.
too, in LA and Brittany. And now Brittany, there's all this like Save Brit. Was that out when you were writing this, the Save
Yes.
Brittany stuff?
No, so yeah, that was just starting to bubble up, but it definitely wasn't like mainstream, because to do a lot of just like research, like reading old articles and things like that, just like seeing what's going on.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, but just this year, especially, a lot has sort of blown over and or bubbled up. So that's sort of it's been interesting watching that happen as I'm rewriting and doing this play and things like that. So
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Has it changed? Did that change any piece of the play?
surprisingly, no. The central conceit of Jesse saying like an ultimatum, like either you let me do what I want or I'm never going to perform again. That was always there from the beginning. So it's sort of been me watching the real life events almost match closely to what I originally wrote, which is sort of fun. But I've tried to stay away from like continuing research based on like Britney and things for revisions, because it's not about Britney Spears, even though it is heavily influenced. So that's sort of how that's turned out.
Cool. Yeah. Um,
It
yeah, it's
is
like
funny
almost
though.
like an homage type feel to her and all of that. Um, okay, sorry. Next question. I had all my stuff pulled up and then I got rid of it. Um, so I guess the next thing is for you guys who were Oh, we have a question from, I guess, the audience.
Mm.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Let's get to that in a second. So, I guess this is like the moments that this is for audience and for actors, since we're all here, and director. What were sort of the most memorable, or like the moments that really grabbed you as you were reading the play or getting to perform the play or say it out loud, those kinds of things? Like the images or words or phrases or something that just like pops in your head, like, oh yeah, this part I really connected or I hooked in.
For me, just Jesse, as I'm a mother, and so just seeing Jesse in the beginning dealing with um, dealing with the fact that she'll probably lose her son is scary. And so I was immediately on her side. And so what it did for me, so we see tabloids are now social media, and it's the story of this celebrity has a bad attitude, and this celebrity, you know, went off on the wardrobe, you know, the wardrobe people, or, you know, all of these stories
Mhm.
that we hear. And so I know Troy, when he and I talked about it, you know, he said that he didn't want Jesse to be a diva, because that's what we think is happening when a superstar is just having a normal moment and something really big is being taken away from them. They react. And so just because they react and they're a superstar, we'll just say they're a diva. So I immediately connected to her as a mother, and she was always human to me. And so for me, I think this is great for us to see, because now we can humanize our superstars and be more understanding.
I thought
Mhm.
for me, playing the mother, it was, and as a mother and as an older woman, uh, I was both sides. I was Jessie when I was younger, and I'm the mother as I'm older. And the way that you wrote it, Troy, was you gave really good arguments to both sides. It wasn't a everybody's going to hate the mother and love Jesse. In my mind, it was she had valid points about the choices that you made, and this is the best thing you can do. And even when, and it sounds so cruel when you say it, but you had said all you know how to do is sing and dance. What are you going to do if you don't have that to make a living to take care of your son? And I thought, and it sounds so
Mhm.
coming out of your mouth, but um, when you realize that she didn't have any other life skills, she didn't know anything else. And I remember being a child and begging, really forcing my parents to let me stop dance. I didn't want to dance anymore when I was 13. And I blamed them in my 20s for not pushing me. So I really see both sides of it. You know what I mean? So I just thought it was very
Mhm.
well written in that way. You do have sympathy, but you understand where the mother's coming from too. So I really like that.
Mhm.
Um, I I would love to say and I think I probably told Troy and everyone and Shawana and everyone this in the first reading. I love, well, I don't love is not the correct word. I appreciated the view into addiction. I appreciated the moments watching this human being trying to work so strenuously against every force that's crashing in on her. And I
Mhm.
also loved getting to see how human she was throughout the entire thing. There were moments where she was on top, but you see that she's going to continue to have to continue to work. Like, this is not the happy, like, things aren't just going to get resolved and she's going to get her son back and they're going to live happily ever after. Like you're so right, Deborah, about like, what do you do after this? What is life after child stardom, after pop stardom? Oh my goodness. I mean, I grew up like watching Britney. I was listening to her when Lucky came out, it was just like, that was so my jam. So I appreciate how this is a person, how human, and how unresolved the end is. We don't know what's going to happen. I like stories that let the people decide.
And you did the same thing with and I forget the character who was the last wish.
Hannah.
Hannah. You did the same thing with her, where you're making Jessie the sympathetic character, and the mother seems unreasonable, but until you break it down and you look at it, and then she's with Hannah, and you see Jessie being a whiny little brat with this woman who's like, you're asking me to help you with this, and so you kind of see both sides of Jessie too, so you don't know where it's going to go, because she's just this raw emotional thing at the moment. So I thought it was really good the way you balanced the relationships between each person that she had to deal with.
Yeah. And I also like the mother thing too, like right away custody, or all of that. I just think that like I was immediately analyzing, okay, how is she gonna get custody? What are the legal ramifications? What does it mean her son is 11? And like I'm already creating like story outside of story outside of story outside of story. And so that's nice and tragic and hard. I mean, really, really hard, challenging stuff. And then of course Hannah makes it all the more complicated. I love that. And then I just love like, so you have this structure of like Jessie's here, and then these people coming into her life. You have her manager, which is not like, yes, pacifying and stage managery both in one, and also just but also not completely letting herself get walked all over. She has like all the dimensions of what she has to deal with her job. Like she knows, this is what I signed up for, I guess, in a way, but there's limits to what I will do. And then
when she was directing it, she was reminding the manager that the bottom line is, if she goes off and does what she wants to do, you're out of the job. So you care about her as a person, and you want to help her. There's all those levels are all in there too, but you can't lose your job either. So you may not want to lose your son and your livelihood, but I don't want to lose my job. And who knows what she's taking care of at home either. So
an arc of pushing Jessie, and then realizing that she had pushed too hard, and sort of seeing like Jessie laid bare, and how it was like, oh, this is bad. I need to side with Jessie totally against her mom. And that's like a way that I think the arc could go. But then through reading it and through talking to people, it just seemed it was a little bit too much, or it rang false in some ways. But I definitely still wanted to keep elements of Kiara changing sort of inside internally, and like seeing what's going on, and actually like taking in the fact that, oh, this isn't just another meltdown, but this is, probably Jessie's biggest choice she's had to make. It's definitely a lot more understated for her near the end. But yeah, that was definitely something I was thinking about. Just wanted to think through the process.
Okay, cool. And then I guess, and then somebody says, so William Duell asked, what did you learn from this reading? And I guess that's a question for Troy, but I think that's also interesting if people learned anything from the play as well, from performing the reading
Okay.
for themselves. So that So maybe a double question. So Troy, did you learn anything in the rehearsal or reading process?
Yeah, first, hey, Will. Good good to hear from you. Um, but yeah, I actually think I learned quite a bit, it doesn't surprise me, but always surprises me for every reading because I think, oh, I spent so much time with the script, like what more can I uncover? But even, during this reading too, um, we were going over one of the Jesse Hanna scenes, and I sort of realized for the first time one thing that makes it so sad for me is the fact that Jesse has been sort of put upon and told to do like what to do for her entire life. So she's been so conditioned to taking direction that when the one person she's asking, what to do, and she says, "Do your own thing, like make your own choice," she still has to come back. Well, tell me the right choice. Like if you can tell me what that is, then I can make that choice. But I really need your help, and Hannah can't do that for her. And that's something I think I want to like dig back into again and just sort of see and track it fully and see where I can sort of nip and tuck and like expose that nerve a little bit more. But that was something during this that I learned and really enjoyed.
That actually ties for me back to that motherhood thing, because the thing I hear most commonly whenever I ask people what I should do is they're like, there's not really a right answer anymore. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's motherhood. That's what it means to be a mom. There's no more right answers
Yeah.
for forever. It's just some deeper intuition, a mother's intuition, I guess. That's where that phrase comes from. And then Elizabeth said she connected to the Jesse Hanna moments the most. And William agrees those scenes with Jesse and Lorraine are totally compelling. Cool. And then, actually, did anybody else learn something from the play? I think that's interesting. I don't know. It might be hard. I don't know if that rings for anyone.
I don't know if I would say I learned anything, because again, I'm seeing, because of my age, I can see the both perspectives much more clearly than I could when I was younger. But what drives you? It always goes back to, well, what choices are you making? What is your life about? So it's not learning so much. It's just that you hope people pick up on that. These are your choices. These are your consequences. It's your life. And you hope that you don't repeat somebody else's mistake, which we do all the time, but it's, you still try to give the lesson.
Like I was telling Troy, Lorraine and Jesse, in a sense, it reminds me of me and my mom. And as I'm looking, at the play, and I'm just thinking maybe this is just a mother and daughter relationship. The skill of influencing your daughter to do what's best at all costs was very well.
Or what you think is best, what the little girl is asking you to do, and you're doing, you're thinking, well, I'm benefiting too, but this is what you're begging me to do. So, and it's funny because Melissa, when you saying, well, it's mother's intuition, it is your intuition, but it's also your baby grows up with how you steer things. That's what they're used to. So you can't make a mistake with a baby, because whatever you do is the baby's, oh, this is my norm. I'm fine with this.
Yeah.
So there really are no mistakes when you're starting out. It's, they only happen when, sorry, Melissa, after the age of about 6, when you're like, oh my God. But then, you're still trying to teach your child to make their own decisions. But if the child doesn't want to if they're waiting for you to do it, and you're used to being the the bully or the champion, however you look at it, then that's your relationship. That's what you do. So if you're fighting against it when you're 40, it's going to be a way bigger fight than if you're fighting against it when you're 13.
Oh, that's a good point, Deborah.
Mm.
Yeah, the longer you stay in it, and as time goes, and then when she really needs to fight back, the fight is going to be that much bigger. And that was this moment. I feel this was the day unlike no other day. The
Mhm.
rain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nicely done.
Yeah, I know. A lot of that I think comes from the place in me that really has a problem with trying to be a people pleaser or to, live up to people's expectations. Because it can get really tricky, like navigating, am I getting a sense of fulfillment personally from doing this thing, or am I only happy because it's making somebody else happy? um and that's like a fear I think I have a lot, like, am I actually doing, like, in my life what I want to do, and who am I letting stop me do that, and is it people that I love, and why would you let someone you love sort of stop you doing from what you want to do, or things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think, yeah, a lot of my questions about that and sort of anxieties came through in Jessie and her having to sort of re-examine her relationship with a manager, a mom, a fan, like everybody who has like a stake in her and wants to see her succeed or to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I have baby crying in the background. So I'm still like, waiting. What's happening? My
Okay, I
brain.
have a cat scratching at my door, so
So you're like, wait, okay. Does he need I get okay, so then usually the next question is sort of are there points, are there sticking points, or for you, Troy, things that I think I prefer if the playwright has a question, like are there things that you're worried about or concerned about as you're working on this play?
I know that one thing I've always been sort of cognizant of in trying to work with is making sure that it feels organic and that the play flows and that it doesn't just feel like, three sort of vignettes stuck together. Because I know when you're working with a structure like that, it's easy to sort of be like, you know, we talk like this, and then I leave, and someone else like talk like this, and it's tough. But I've been trying to cut and to carve, and there was a time when I think there weren't any extra entrances or exits, but I let Kiara come in a bit, and Lorraine come in a bit more, and things like that, to try and meld it together in a way that flows a bit more, even though I have to weigh like those issues with also I want it to feel like a pressure cooker for Jessie, and you can't have too many exits open up, otherwise Jessie could just leave at any second. So
Mhm.
that's been something that I'm always trying to track. So if people feel a certain way about that, definitely you can let me know. But that's an issue.
That's an interesting question because I was one of the initial readers for this play. And I do a thing, Mark Bly always said to the first time you read a play, you want to read it for rhythm. So you're not like sitting there judging. So taste doesn't feed in as much, right? So you're not like, oh, I don't like this content or I don't like this character or something like this. Like you're just trying to get the beat of it. And so that was my initial impression was, okay, this writer has a excellent grasp of rhythm. So I don't know if that, and like for me, that it flows really well.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely some earlier drafts, my first, second, they may have been a bit more boxy. So that's good to know. It's definitely, and that's a really good Mark Black quote too. I'll have to think about that as well.
Yeah.
I think it's, oh, I'm sorry, Melissa.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think when looking at theater as like the day, the moment, this is different than everything that came before it. The pressure cooker opportunity of watching one actor on stage for a certain amount of time, I think is so appealing. It's like getting to actually watch the human in a glass box exist. So I totally hear you about the entrances and the exits, and I bring this up because the scene with the drawer, and she's opening and shutting the drawer, that feels like her opening up this door to a brick wall, and she's like opening it up and hoping the brick wall is not gonna, or it's gonna go away and she can't exit. I just, having her own like mini exit within the room, but it's not a real exit because it's just gonna, she knows it's her like fall into abyss. I appreciate how physically she is stuck in this, but then you have this other world just right here that is like the rabbit hole, if you will. I really appreciated that, and I think that was something that also stuck with me just from the previous question. How important, how educational it is to watch a human in a pressure cooker situation, because we all know that feeling in our own way.
Yeah.
I think it's very relatable.
And it has that like I think Shimko always has that thing where like if you put a gun on stage, you have to use it somehow.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, the gun is the alcohol.
So just speak, since we got on the fact of the sort of the escape and the alcohol, just a funny little trivia note. Because it used to be a lot more contrived, because in the original draft, Jessie had smuggled in vodka with like a spray bottle, and so that's how she was getting her drink, like through that. Which obviously is like, okay, that probably needs to change. So then it changed to the mistaken gift basket, but yeah, it used to be a spray bottle that she got drunk off of, which was also sad in its own way. Which I kind of liked the image of this woman drinking from a spray bottle, but.
No, but this is nice because it gives her like a little bit, like she overcame something and is going back as opposed to still in.
Right. Which, yeah, and I think that was more true for Jessie.
And that goes back to your choices that you make as an adult, because she did overcome all of this and she was doing really good and she got this really big gig. So everything happened in one day, in just a couple of hours, where it fell apart. And now she doesn't have that. It's not clicking along like it was. There's the fork in the road, and you don't know what she's going to do. And she doesn't know what she hasn't been faced with this before. She's already passed it. So now it's like just spiraling. It's good. The spray bottle's not a good idea.
No, I totally think because the gift basket is another outside force.
Exactly.
Add into the pressure.
It's another character. Yeah, that came in.
It is totally. Yeah. And watching her kind of take on this adult position with Kiara of do not freak out. It's okay. Like, oh, can you be a mother? Can you be it's all right, it's fine, let it go person? I think the gift basket is.
Yeah, I do too.
When you set out to write this, were you intending to be like, I'm going to write a women's play, a play with all strong female leads?
Yeah, I think basically from the beginning, since I knew it was like a story inspired by this female pop star, I knew it was going to be like a small cast, and it's like, okay, the manager obviously needed someone like that, and I think the mom was like, I really wanted to delve into that relationship, and so then it was just like, well, there should be a fan, I think, like that sort of factors in. It's like, oh yeah, well, I should just make this entirely female cast, because I had also, like, I've written a lot where a lot of my plays were sort of one location straight through, so to stretch my, like, to try and grow a bit more, I also wanted to write entire cast of female characters to sort of get out of like just my present head and really think of these lives that's not just my own kind of like experience.
And you write women very well.
Thank you.
They were all so diverse, and their obstacles were so strong, and it was just clear. The dialogue was amazing.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Melissa was saying the first thing you read is rhythm, and I 100%
Yeah.
agree with that. And you have those exchanges, especially when they get really fast. It's a beautiful rhythm, and you can tell it's a rhythm that it's decades in the making. This rhythm, so I really appreciated that. I thought that was very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that first mom entrance was really, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah.
And thankfully, and I changed, Jesse's, place of birth to be East Texas, so I could sort of draw on my family roots and history a bit. So there are some direct quotes lifted from my life into the play, but not many. I don't have as messy an experience as Jesse. But yeah, I just love that sort of, style and culture, and just Lorraine, the way that she carries herself was very, very fun to write. And I think her first line was always, "Hey, baby, I heard you were being stupid." I just thought that was like a perfect encapsulation of how she thinks about the situation. So,
You really have her being very sincere. She's not false at all. And I can see her being sympathetic. And, if you're stupid, I'm going to call you out. If you're stupid, are you being stupid, baby? I
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah,
oh,
it does seem like
women.
she does want what's best for her daughter, and this is what she decided was best. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like just more of the conflict driver.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. And then you specify an African American for the manager. So I wanted to ask, like, what is your thinking with that, and like, why did you say, okay, this we'll bring this in?
That was part of just my effort to. I knew that this play stars this white pop star, and half of it is her and her mother. And I was like, well, I'd like to open up these roles to like not just white actresses. So I'm just thinking of, honestly, there were some actresses I know here in LA that I was sort of thinking of when I wrote the characters. So I think I used a lot of sort of that inspiration and some of my actors as templates, and that came through. So I think that's sort of like maybe how I came up with like specific ethnicities. But I definitely just wanted to make sure it wasn't just a totally white play for this story. Because while definitely there's some plays that have cast of monoliths, I just didn't think this play had to be that.
Hmm. Do you worry about the, like, I guess the manager trope, or like the employee of trope?
I definitely have, it's sort of like been in the back of my mind sometimes. But for me, Kiara was always operating in a place of power when I was writing the script, because, she's this young dynamic manager who took on Jesse basically as like a, a, a gesture of goodwill, because, Jesse was sort of toxic. So Kiara didn't have to do anything that she had done. So I guess in my mind, it was, a little different than other stories I had seen, possibly. But that's another reason I think early on in the draft, I wanted to give Kiara more of a role, and I didn't want her just to be a manager or just to be like this person trying to get Jesse on stage. And I wanted to flesh her out and make her, like, her and all these characters be people as well. So that's, I think, been definitely something I've been working on and trying to get through and make clear.
Well, I guess managers are kind of bosses as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a manager, but if I did, I would probably listen to what they said many times.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she was very powerful.
Hmm.
If you're in a position where you have a manager, then you're doing something right. And so I see that as she's a go-getter, a modern woman doing what she has to do to get to the next level herself. So
Hmm.
I was happy to see it written for an African American.
Hmm. 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 Okay. Well, do y'all have any questions for Troy or things that maybe came up in rehearsal that you could talk about um, in the for the audience?
Hmm.
I know one thing we talked about was Hannah and Jesse and the exchange of power, in their scene. That scene just, when I first read it, I was like, oh, and then watching them perform, I was still like, oh, and then the day of, I was just like, oh, it's just like nothing prepares you for it. And you can watch it over and over again. And I think it's still going to just make you gasp. But it's just how the scene starts. It's like the fan meets her idol, and then it's awkward, and then it turns into something very weird, and then the ball drops, and we find out what's going on with Hannah, I mean, and then this exchange of power happens, and now she's the most important person in Jesse's life. At least that's how I took it, and that's how I told the cast. Now Jessie has somebody that she can confide in and trust. And that was interesting to see that she totally trusts someone that she just met, aside from her mother and manager who she's been working with for however long. I just love that scene. It just totally flipped the scene, the whole play around for me.
Mhm. Mhm. It is nice. It's like it's fun to watch like a person, okay, like you've been through a tragedy or you're going through this thing, so you must know blah 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 blah. You know all this stuff all of a sudden. But and in the end she actually does know. She does. And and I think that's like that's kind of true of a lot of things. Like people who are in situations that are hard or challenging or difficult or outside of, like their lives took some other path all of a sudden, very often that is what they're like, I don't know anything, but in fact they know. They know something, they learned something, and owning that. So even Hannah, I think, like learned something about herself in that
Yeah.
process.
I thought that you made Hannah a catalyst for the change in Jessie, where because she's lived a very insulated, isolated, really life. Um, she is very spoiled. She's used to, I say something, it gets done, and everybody, what do you want, baby? And you get it, as long as you sing and dance. You know what I mean? So she's the first person in her adult life I took as the one who was able to snap, and not even snap, kind of gently move Jessie into out of herself and see a bigger picture, see something outside of herself that actually made her a better person, I think. So I thought that was really good. I thought Hannah was that catalyst for Jessie.
Mm.
Yeah. I was thinking, writing the play, if anything can change Jesse, maybe meeting this person in this circumstance could do that. Because what else can, or like it's also that sort of weird effect you get when sometimes it's much easier to share very dark, deep things with a stranger than it is with someone you know very well. So it's sort of just one of those situations. And I guess we don't know totally how much Jesse's changed her mind or what she will do, but I definitely, with the Hannah situation, I knew that somebody who Jesse didn't know at all would have to come into her life to do something.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like she even, Jesse says to Hannah, I know that they want what's best for me, but I know that they need this out of me, and like everybody needs something from me. But Hannah already got what she needed from Jesse. Like Hannah got to meet her, and now she's at her first concert. Like there is no more distrust for Hannah, I get. Like, she almost can trust this total stranger who she knows undyingly loves her. Oh, that was kind of a terrible use of that word, but she knows this person is loyal and has nothing to gain from whether or not Jessie walks out on that stage or not. Hannah got what she needed from her. So I think that it's knowing that someone isn't counting on you, and just another layer of it. Yeah, I totally agree with you though. It had to be something that someone she didn't know, and someone in this,
because it changed the rhythm. You're used to, this is how you react and you have your rhythm and this is what you say and we have our rhythm together, and here comes this unknown figure that comes in with her own rhythm. And it kind of, not messes, I think it fixes her mind a little bit. It makes her stop going in the same circle. She can jump into another circle of life.
Okay, Betsy is complicating things more for us and asking if Jessie and Lorraine have to be white. And I can actually, I'll take that on a little bit if you want me to, Troy.
Yeah, if you have a thought, definitely,
I think my thought is that you play with white privilege in the play. And so it's actually for you, and it would change, it's like, I don't think it's mandatory, but it would change the play if you changed the cultural background of the character.
Yeah.
And in this case, white privilege is playing like that bratty, white girl thing is very much part of that character.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I tried to, with white privilege and with Jessie's specific upbringing, and well, especially Lorraine growing up as sort of white trailer trash, trying to like claw her way to these specific roots that they've taken, and also it was important for me that Jessie sort of feels like an old vanguard, that's sort of like it's this pop star that was big and she was in the zeitgeist and not so much now, and it's sort of this I guess because I grew up in the 90s, just a very 90s-ish, and sort of like it's someone who was big and things are changing, and the world of play is changing, but Jessie's trying to like stay there. So that sort of was a bit in play with it, I think, too.
I think I used the privilege and the the microaggression with Kiara, because her name is Kiara, and I had even asked in rehearsal if I could call her Kiara when I'm there. I've known, how long have I known her, and I still will not call this woman of color, but I still want to have that. Well, I'm still up here. I act like we're together when we're saying the same thing to Jessie, but as soon as Kiara says something that I don't want to hear, I go into that kind of East Texas. Not that everybody in East Texas is prejudiced, but you know what I mean. But I'm better than you because of the color of my skin, even though I'm white trash.
Yeah.
So that was something that I was very aware of. Can I call her Kiara? All right, thank you, Kiara. Like, so condescending to let them know that here's my status. My status is up here.
Yeah. Good question, though. Yeah. All these questions have been really good just to think about and talk to.
Oh, good. Well, is there any other, I guess the final question that Shimko always asks is Troy, if Troy goes to their typewriter, because I imagine you have a typewriter, you're a playwright.
Yeah.
And you're about to delete something. What's the thing definitely like, it could just be if you remember a line, that to me is the best thing, if you actually remember a line, or moment or character or something, do not cut.
No pressure.
No pressure. Like, do not get rid of this. Mm. Now we're all like, wait, do we need to pull up the play?
Oh, wait, is this for us?
This is for you guys. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was for Troy. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Whoops.
No.
Do not cut, Hannah. Do not cut the gift basket. Well, you just opened up a can because now I'm just gonna list the whole play. Yeah, Hannah. The gift basket, the latex suit.
The baby powder.
It's so real. That's so, I totally know looking at a costume and thinking, I'm actually going to die tonight when you put that on. I will actually die tonight and you will be lifting my body into the casket with me still in this costume.
That's good, because at one point I think I was maybe toying with doing something else or getting rid of that sort of little mini scene or things.
It's so relatable that yes, yeah. I was like, oh, that cost. Yes.
It's a lot of physical humor and things, so it doesn't come off as well, in a reading, which is also kind of tough. So I've never gotten a real sense of what it looks like on stage. But
all pop stars wear like these latex outfits, and I'm thinking it's uncomfortable, but they're on stage doing splits and jumps, so clearly it's not. So this is good to read. She's having to put on baby powder to put the outfit on.
Yeah.
No, don't take that out.
Cool.
No, that's good. And also, like, that's
of the reins.
Don't get anything.
Rain in there.
Yeah.
Just keep all of her.
Yeah.
I like Hannah just asking, what do you want? Like that moment. No,
Yeah.
Okay, a specific line, you don't deserve anything to her mother. That line just, and not general, and not like just like at her mother specifically. I kind of see it as this encompassing at everyone who has put her here, who has contributed to this terrible pressure cooker moment. You all, like, you don't deserve any. That I think is such a powerful, transcendent, understandable line for so many different things. I'm always looking for what can relate to every single different audience member from every single background, every single country, whatever year, whatever age, generation, like what will make each person, what line will hit everybody, but in a totally different way. And yet and yet we can all understand one another experiencing that. And I think that line is just, that one is really, really great.
Thank you.
And Melissa, we're saying what we want to say.
What we want him to keep, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. I definitely want him to keep the entire play, and then because it's so tight.
Yeah.
It's tight, Troy. I mean, it's solid. I think you have a winner. I love the moment when Jessie, she's in like the pressure cooker, we're saying, and her manager is saying, oh, we sold out, and this is that and other is gonna happen, and it hits her. What's more important? And she's like, I don't want to do nothing. I really respected her in that moment because she's so powerless and she just doesn't know what to do. But that's the only thing she had control over. And she thought if she could let that go, she could get her son back. Yeah.
That's good to know, because I think that specific exchange with Kiara was new to this draft. So that was something I was trying to like, I guess, underline or to make it more of an impact.
Yeah, it hit.
That's good. It is super tightly done, and it's very like producible, and that's my other question actually, is when you were, so you were like, okay, I'm doing one room. I know that theaters can manage this because it has this many characters and all of this stuff. You thought through all of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we definitely just, I guess as a playwright in 2020, you kind of
Hmm.
have to think about, well, I could write my 15 character extravaganza, but who's going to really do it? Uh, and so that was definitely a big issue. And I work a lot with Ensemble Studio Theater LA here in Los Angeles, and it's a black box theater, sort of thing set up. So um, thinking about what could we do in a theater like this, which is, ubiquitous around the country. Like most
Uh-huh.
people have like at least a black box. So
Uh-huh.
how can you do that? So I was definitely, as much as I don't like having to think about producibility and like those kind of questions, it is really good to give yourself limitations and to give
Yeah.
yourself those constraints, because then you have to play within them and figure things out. So that helped a lot.
Hmm. And I mean, it's like site specific, I guess, in that way,
Mhm.
if it's like that. So then if this was an unproducible play, are there things that you had in your mind that you were like, I can't do that?
Um, I I I was thinking at one point of the sequence where Hannah and Jesse sing together, that little connection. At one point, I was like, what if like suddenly the play goes out of time and they both have on outfits and they're doing like the song together and the choreography, and it's like what Hannah would want in her heart of hearts, and that shows like how she's like what she's getting in this moment. Um, but I was like, well, that's a lot, and it's sort of
Oh,
big.
I
So
would love that. That would be awesome. Oh my
if the
God, the
lighting
light,
designer,
the dark light spot. Oh my
Just like
God.
a whole music video could
yeah,
happen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
yeah,
they're doing it to a soundtrack. It's already, the record's already made. And oh, yeah, you got to do that now.
I know.
yeah. I'll, if it gets produced, maybe I can talk to the lighting designer, sound. We can see what we can maybe cook up and expand.
Just write the whole world. I directed a piece like where I got the initial script and I was like, I want to direct this play. I go and contact the playwright and they're like, oh, I've written a new version. And this version has, so the original one had like a Greek chorus and all this like completely ridiculous stuff. And the stage directions were like a snow globe, and inside the snow globe, an explosion. And the explosion creates Armageddon within the, okay. And then and she gave me the new script and it was like in a psychiatrist's office and there were 4 characters. And I was like, I'm not doing that play. I'm going to do the snow globe.
Yeah,
And I will figure it out.
yeah. Okay.
So anyway, I like stuff like that sometimes because as a director, just like, like here's this option, or if you want to just do something wild and crazy, here's
Mhm.
also this complete, find out what you can do,
Yeah.
And I think I used a carousel projector
Mm.
and made
Okay.
and developed custom slides
I
in order
guess
to make it happen. So it's like sometimes, you can push and like people come up with crazy things.
in that vein, or my sort of answer to that, was after I sort of wrote the first draft of this play, which is very simple. The play that I just finished the first draft of is my most theatrical thing I've ever written, and crazy with set changes and whatever. So like, well, I wrote my simple one-room play, so let me sort of like spread my wings a bit.
And write a new, yeah. So what is the next thing for you since we're
Uh,
at then?
well, I guess so. The play that I'm currently working on and editing is my adaptation of the Oresteia. So this has been a play that was really ever since UH, sort of like eating away at me and things like that. So I knew that I wanted to make an adaptation, and I knew that I wanted to include, the humanities, the third part that people don't really include in their adaptations a lot. So I just have a first draft. It's like 140 pages, I think. So it's massive. um,
Oh, Oresteia big. Yeah.
but I guess in some way it sort of has to be, or I don't mind if this one is a little bit bigger. Um, but it's what I'm working on now. So it's exciting, it's fun. It's the hardest play I think I've had to write in a while, just because I didn't know until I set forth to adapt this trilogy, how hard adapting really was. And you're not just adapting one play, you're adapting three. So that was equally stressful. But I love Greek, Greek theater. And my last Wordsmith reading was my play The Believers, which was structured with Greek tragedy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That was you. I loved that play.
Thank you.
Cool.
It's not Greek, but the Hogarth series, where they have all these famous writers that have adapted all of or a lot of Shakespeare's plays into either modern or whatever. There's a whole bunch of them. I just finished Lear's Fool. There was a Shylock one. There's a Othello that takes place in one afternoon on a middle school playground, which is brilliant. So there's, I would go to the Hogarth series and look at some of those adaptations, because they're, spread your wings, Troy. There is nothing you can't do with these stories. Nothing.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Wow, cool. Well, I know we're in COVID time or whatever, but usually at the end of these, and I haven't done this yet actually, like, what do people have going on next for everyone else?
We're very busy.
Anyone?
Dinner next.
The next thing I'm doing is a Dungeons and Dragons type thing that'll be online. I believe it benefits the LGBTQ community.
Oh.
And you have to go, it's like a quest, like Dungeons and Dragons, but you meet these different people, and there are main characters in it. And then you have people that just pop up that have cameos. And it's a lot of people that will be popping up. I'm one of them as the cameo. So check that out. It's the most fun thing that I have no idea what it's about I've ever done.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
It is really cool.
Yeah, I have 2 plays coming out next year. One with Rec Room. I have a play, Power to the Queendom, and it will run. It'll be on Rec Room's site from I think it's February 18th for 4 days. And then my play, Oh Black and White Hollywood, will be at the Alley All New reading.
Oh, congrats.
Or start April 16th.
Wow. All right.
That's so awesome. Congratulations, Shawana.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shawana, for reminding me. Rec Room. I am one of the actors in the recording series. They're wonderful. Oh my goodness. It was the whole virtual podcast series that they're doing is wonderful. You donate one time and you get to hear all of these awesome plays by local playwrights. So I think mine comes out after Shawana's, I believe.
Cool. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Which play is it, Shannon?
It is the oh my goodness. I'm so embarrassed.
No. That's okay.
It's a cool title.
Delete. I know. It's the CEO women.
Yeah. Okay, that comes out in January, right?
Yes.
That was like Christian's play.
Yes, Christian. Oh my goodness! Wow. Yeah. Please delete this entire part of this live Facebook. I'm sorry. I nannied all day. That's why my brain's there. Working with some more Cougs, doing a little short film, all about the Coug power. Yeah, and then I work with the Center for Applied Drama and Autism virtually. I teach with them. If you have any students or family or anybody anywhere on the spectrum, we do virtual theater for the world. It's an incredible organization. I can't speak more highly of it. It changes lives. Yeah. So little plug for the Center of Applied Drama and Autism. They're great. They're great. I can't speak higher of them. So yeah, and then just surprisingly, I mean, I guess not surprisingly, so many readings are happening, which is great. So it's a great way to stay connected with the people locally and around the country now.
Yeah.
I said it's going to be very difficult for me. I do so much online on Zoom now to actually go outside and have to put on pants to go film something. It's going to be very weird.
You're like, wait, what? It's going to be really hard. Yeah, once we emerge. So, I'm doing, like, with Lucille International Theater, we're about to put out a reading that we did a while back, but we did like a experimental Zoom thing. So I got an art film with it called Blackwater. And then also with them, we're doing something called A Day's Work in collaboration with the Syndicate. And the Syndicate's in New York. And their idea is that we're going to give someone $200 for a day's work. And they're just going to tell us what they did.
I love that. I love that.
I love that.
So it's a way of supporting artists during COVID, you know, and people that we used to work with or whatever. So we're hoping like other theaters take this on and are like, we don't know what to do with our grant money. We're just going to pay artists to exist, and then they'll tell us. And there's no like ownership of this idea. Please take it and give artists money.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah. So that's the hope. We hope that it disperses and the idea goes.
And just so everybody who's watching this understands, we are all artists, all of us.
Yeah. We would love to tell you what we do with our day.
Yes, we would.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I will put on pants for that.
You don't have to.
Right.
But yeah. So, okay, cool. I don't know. That's very hopeful right now because like that things are moving and that we're going into the new year and the holidays are coming. So, yeah, thank you guys for all of that. And thank you, Troy, for this. If y'all have any last final words or anything, but I think that is the end of this live stream. So.
Awesome. I just want to say thanks for everybody watching. I know talkbacks are like usually 20-30 minutes, so if you watch the full hour, you know, awesome. I hope we made it an enjoyable conversation for you, because I really liked it.
That's good. Yay. Thank you.